Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of UX because you matter. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the book, Steal Like an Artist. Is it worth the hype? By Austin Kleon. Kleon? Oh, I'm so sorry, Austin.
George. Dag net, Penny.
Now, in all full disclosure, I did not read the book, I listened to the book. How? Well, through audible.com. In Audible, I was able to get the Steal Like an Artist audio trilogy that contains Show Your Work and also Keep Going. It was definitely an easy listen. I really thoroughly enjoyed it and I had a lot of aha moments. So let's get into those aha moments, shall we? There are 10 chapters in this book, which means I am going to give you one aha moment for every chapter. Austin poses just a broad question. What are the ideas worth stealing? There is art and artistry all around us, and it's just a matter of picking and choosing what are those inspirational pieces that you're going to apply to your everyday life and the work that you do.
Alston, Lagerfeld, De La Renta, and what they did, what they created, was greater than art, because you live your life in it.
One example is that he talks about David Bowie and how David Bowie had labeled himself a tasteful thief, which really got me thinking about other celebrities and artists that may be inspired from artists before them. Take Lady Gaga, for example. She is definitely forward-thinking, much like Madonna was in the 80s. She plays beautiful piano, just like Beethoven. She definitely has lots of stage presence, very much reminds me of Freddie Mercury. And of course, she's a fashion icon, very much like David Bowie was back in the 80s and 70s. But in the UX design world, we do this all the time. That's why we have mood and inspiration boards. I will admit, at first I did feel a little bit weird about stealing ideas just because of the fact that I felt like I wasn't being creative or brainstorming original concepts. But let's face it, we all kind of steal from one another. So what are the ideas that you're currently stealing from? How are you applying that to your projects, to your everyday work? And that's the topic of imposter syndrome. Now, here's my problem with imposter syndrome. It basically describes people who are striving to be something and you're pretty much faking it until you make it. This is an ideology that I personally disagree with. Can you imagine being asked to complete a project and saying, yeah, sure, I can do that, but in the back of your mind, you're asking yourself, I have no idea how the hell I'm going to do this?
You physically take the specs from the customer?
Well, no, my secretary does that, or the fax.
Huh. So then you must physically bring them to the software people.
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes.
What would you say you do here?
Yeah, I've been in that position before, and trust me, it is not fun. Which is why I adopted a new philosophy in my life, which I feel that has been more beneficial than the imposter syndrome. And that philosophy is be transparent and just keep it real. Remember, you don't want to set expectations too high and not deliver at all. That actually, in my opinion, is going to ruin your reputation much faster and quicker. In this chapter, Austin basically talks about doing the things that you want to see. Now, I'm very happy to say that I've already been having this mindset even before I read this book. For example, this YouTube channel is because of the fact that I did some research and I definitely noticed some gaps within the UX design world. There are lots of topics that are not being discussed, and there's a lot of content out there that's outdated. I did get frustrated when I would go on YouTube, search for something, and didn't yield many results. So I figured, hey, if I'm going to be working on this topic, why don't I just do a video about it? Austin definitely emphasizes the point that if there's something that you're very passionate about and you're very knowledgeable about that topic and you feel that you can bring some value, then just go ahead and do it. When I listened to this part in the book, it definitely validated some of the concerns that I was actually running across previously. Basically, Austin talks about how people need to stop using their electronics so much, walk away from your computer and your phone, and just do some hands-on work. And that by doing that, it's going to spark more creativity and fresh ideas. So for example, if I'm on the treadmill and I just kind of am focused and just walking and I'm not using my phone, I'm not doing anything, maybe I'll have some music or something in the background, that's when I get the best ideas. Now, from a UX perspective, I actually did ask my mentor a few weeks ago if I should be sketching my ideas on paper or digitally like an iPad. He advised me that the best ideas and moments of clarity that he had was when he was away from gadgets, away from notifications, away from distractions, and just had a quiet space where he could take his pen, take his paper, and just draw on it all the time. And so I really do appreciate his advice, and I really feel that between him and also listening to Austin, it just kind of verified that, you know what, sometimes going the old school route pays off. In this part of Austin's book, it answered a question that I had lingering in my mind for a while, which was, do I want to take on as many projects as I can? I was wondering in the back of my mind if I was going to run into scope creep. His reasoning is that when you're working on multiple projects, it will avoid you from getting bored day in and day out when you're only working on the one. That made me feel better about the workload that I was taking on, because currently at this moment, as you all know, I'm working on finishing up my Design Lab Academy schooling, and at the same time I'm working on this YouTube channel. But after hearing Austin discuss about how it's good for the mind to be working on different things, especially if these projects are going to be passion projects, then it made me feel so much better to take on these new things. One of my all-time favorite artists is Lindsey Stirling. If you haven't heard of her, basically think about classical music mixed with EDM. One of the things that I really admire about Lindsey Stirling is during an interview, she said that up until that point in her career, which was at the end of 2020, she had dedicated an average of about 10,000 hours playing the violin to really perfect her art form. Now, I have no idea how she even calculated 10,000 hours. It's true what they say, practice does make perfect. And so I personally believe that in order to do good work, great work, and even outstanding work, you really have to put a lot of time into it.
You know, really looking at what are you going to do with your time and mastering your time. Instead of having a checklist, you cross it all off, you can mistake movement for achievement. I want to squeeze out of that time what matters, that creates value for me and for everyone I care about and love.
So that's just my personal philosophy of how you should be able to do your good work as well. But in addition to what he was saying, which was to share it with people, I definitely have learned my lesson where I would do my work in my own space, my quiet space, or in my office. And I don't think I did a really good job of showcasing that work, unfortunately, which put me in a position where whenever I would turn projects around maybe very quickly and it may come off effortlessly, people would assume that in order for me to do that project or that task, oh, it's easy, hand it off to Andrea, she'll get it done very quickly. And that wasn't really the case. They really didn't understand the detail it took, the immense of research that it may have took as well. And so I am definitely trying to do a better job of showcasing my work to my audience, to my team, to my colleagues, so that way I can really show what I can do. And I think that's the point that Austin's trying to make, which is sharing your work with others will enable people to know what are the skill sets that you're doing and what you can really bring to the table. Even though this book was published in 2012, Austin already was talking about how geography is no longer relevant in today's world. And obviously, with all the technology we have, it's a no-brainer at this point that many careers, not all, but many careers no longer are required to be in an office setting in order to do your job. The 2020 coronavirus pandemic and lockdowns, that has even been even further proven, which I've always said to previous employers that I've had, I really felt that having a workstation in some instances was almost like throwing away money. I almost felt like some companies, if they could get away with not conducting their work in an office type setting, I really feel that a lot of the money that they would be saving in a location and all of that stuff that comes with it, they should actually be giving a higher salary to their employees, which of course would improve the retention rate. So that's just my 2 cents. But one thing that he did say that did crack me up was he said, bad weather equals good work. And that really made me laugh just because of the fact that I think that's very true. Whether it's bad weather or even now in this situation that we're in, bad circumstances that are forcing us to be inside, I don't think I have ever been this productive in my life. This is something that I already knew beforehand going into the book. We do live obviously in a very large world, but however, I've noticed with my experience is there tend to be certain niches and circles, and depending on the industry that you're working in, you'll be running into the same people over and over again. It's important to be nice, to be approachable, to be just overall your best self around these groups of people, because at the end of the day, whether you may be aware of it or not, people are definitely talking about you, and of course you aspire that the things that they are talking are all going to be positive things. Even putting all of that aside, we should be kind to our neighbor. We should be practicing that golden rule of treat others the way that you want to be treated. So regardless of profession or aspirations, we should be doing those things anyway. It's more taking into account of more from a working relationship. Of course, there will be instances that we'll work with people that we may not necessarily see eye to eye with, but at the end of the day, we should be respecting each other, valuing each other, and maybe instead of talking behind someone's back, which can obviously get to you.
Do you know what everyone says about you? They say that you're a homeschooled jungle freak who's a less hot version of me. Yeah.
It's probably best to, give really positive feedback. And if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it at all. Chapter 9 made me feel a little bit better about myself and my life. And here's why. Sometimes I have a boring life, guys. But you know, sometimes boring can be a good thing. Don't get me wrong. In my old days, I used to travel all over the world. I used to meet people all the time. I mean, I'm such a social butterfly. And so going out, going to activities and events and conferences and all of that stuff, you know, really did fill up my calendar. But I will definitely say probably after 2017, things definitely started slowing down. Got married, I became a homeowner, I worked a lot, don't have any children yet, but all of these responsibilities led me to a lifestyle where it wasn't, you know, engaging or exciting as most people may think. But Austin definitely said that being boring is a good thing just because of the fact that you are able to get some work done. Having that boring lifestyle, which is not going out on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, even Saturday and Sunday, I've used that time to really think about my life and my future and planning for the future. Even outside of the UX field, my husband and I have spent time reading up on financial books and reading up on insurance and retirement and savings and all of that stuff. Instead of spending the time going out and doing, and not that you know, it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying is, you know, using that boring time to really think about the important things of life and how you're going to prepare for that and gaining those skill sets. I feel that I am making the most of my boring time by being productive, by trying to educate myself in the things that I'm interested in. And Austin's right, you know, you got to use that time to really do the things that you want to do and reach those goals that you want to reach. And one of the key drivers here in this chapter is subtracting the things that are getting in the way of your creativity. I think nowadays it is very easy to get caught up in a life full of distractions, and that can sometimes be a terrible thing. Life and time is so precious, and we have to be wise with how we're investing our time and efforts on a day-to-day basis. How are you finding ways to be creative? What are the distractions that you have in your life? Are you intentionally cutting those things out of your life so that you can have the space, the air, the freedom to just do the artistic things that you want to do? What are other ways that you can find yourself being in a space where you can come up with fresh and creative ideas? There are certain life distractions that you just can't get rid of. I have a dog, I have to walk my dog. I can imagine people who have children, you know, they have those responsibilities that they have to attend to. And so I'm sure that, you know, those are good distractions to have in life, right? But at the same time, things that you have to learn through life of how you're going to be navigating through those distractions. I really hope this video helped you get a glimpse of this book. Once again, I highly recommend it. I give it 2 thumbs up. So that's it, everybody. I really hope that you liked this video. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and share. And follow me on Instagram if you haven't by now, where I regularly post stories and posts about my life and my UX design journey. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, you matter.